Hello, my name is Melissa Valley, and this is W for Women, episode 2. So as I mentioned on my first video, for the past year, I have been walking a process that changed my whole life. After coming to the realization that I had a bad relationship with the word woman, I had to go deep and really explore what about a woman was so bad within my belief system. And to my surprise, it was a lot worse than I thought. Many points came up, but I'm going to focus on one point on this specific video. As I dug into beliefs that were shaping these beliefs around the word woman and what a woman is, some of the beliefs that I came up with were: women don't need men. Women are looked down on. Women aren't good enough. Women are less than men. Women cannot succeed like men do. Women cannot succeed like men do, or on their own. Women have no power. Women are weak. Being a woman is hard, and being a mother is hard. I could say that only I think this way, and that I'm traumatized, and there must be something really wrong with me. But after much research and really processing all of this and really understanding each one of those statements that I just said and really digging in, I realize a lot of women feel the same way and think the same way and believe the same things. What is worse is that we walk around every day carrying these beliefs without even knowing and being completely aware of the decisions that we make, the actions we take, the thoughts that we have. They're all being led in every single breath by these beliefs that we carry. They happen to be so deeply embedded and socially justified that it's almost impossible to recognize them for what they are. In order for me to find these beliefs within me and to be self-honest, I had to use specific tools to support me in the process. Because let's be honest, to admit that I have all of these beliefs within me takes a lot of self-honesty. It takes going through it and seeing it for what it is instead of how it makes me feel.
It is the feelings attached to these beliefs that will hold us hostage. It is the feelings we place behind the beliefs that keep us in a perpetual hamster wheel.
So I began to break each of these down, because once I was able to identify them, it's not just identifying them and be like, oh, okay, I have these beliefs. It's now I have to correct them. I had to find the root. I had to find the culprit behind it all. And after processing it with the tools that I have, there it was. I rejected being a woman. I mean, think about it. Why would I want to be a woman if I have no power, if I'm less than men, if I'll never succeed like men, if I'm not good enough? I don't want that. I mean, seriously, who would? But getting stuck there is the main problem that we have right now, because the response that we have created as a coping mechanism is to just respond in defense. But here's the thing, we have to start asking questions. Where did it come from? How did I come to believe such things? Who, what, where, when did it all come together to create this deep-rooted belief system? Do you know? So in the first video, I discussed my primary educators. And now let's discuss the environment as well, because it's not just in the first educators. If other forces are involved in the education and the upbringing and the programming of a child. Every movie during my childhood always portrayed a woman being weak, not being good enough, always being abused, and only being able to find happiness if another man saved her. And this is just one point that I'm bringing up because it's one that everybody can relate with. But through great marketing forever. Women have made to believe that they have to be better than men, that they have to become better than men. Okay? Because if they don't, they're going to be less than men. And that can only be measured by the amount of power that we hold. And by power, it doesn't mean the woman power, but one that relates and it's comparable to that of men.
Unfortunately for me, I was born in the transition era, where the marketing ramped up and went from one extreme to the other. We went from the weak and victimhood of women to become better and tougher than men, to what socially is defined as equality. But as I investigated, honestly, it is just the other side of the same coin. All leads to inequality between the man and the woman, which both sides are manipulated by the same hand.
So the only thing left to do, if I rejected being a woman, was to become a man. Problem is, I couldn't become a man because I'm a woman. And no matter how hard I tried, I'm a woman. So if I reject being a woman and I reject the opposite gender, what is there left to do? Well, as I walked this journey, I realized that I hated men. And not only that, but I also hated myself. I hated men because I was programmed to believe that they were better and I was less than. And I hated myself because I was never going to be them. And by the way, hateful women, that's a whole new video that we cannot even begin to cover here. But once I break that down, how that hate has been programmed into us, you'll see that it's really not worth it. And when we begin to embrace us ourselves as women, the world's going to begin to become a lot better. Anyways, moving on. Again, it's not like people walk around saying the things that I'm saying. It's not like people walk around understanding why they can't get along with their spouses, why divorce rates are so high. It's not like people consciously understand why we as women, most women, have the urge to drop our children off, our babies, our newborns within 6 weeks of being born in a daycare so somebody else takes care of them because they have to also bring money. They have to give in something to the household, telling themselves that they're equal to men. But in other words, they just are trying to be like men. And it's not like women walk around consciously understanding why they blame and hate men for everything that happens in this world. But that's a whole nother video for another day. Let's keep going. When you're able to walk yourself in self-honesty, to define your beliefs, understand where they come from, why they're happening, why you're having the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions that you're having, the tornado that is in our heads constantly stops. And to the conclusion that I came is that all of these beliefs, all that they do is keep us women in a constant survival mode, competition, fighting amongst men, amongst women, amongst everybody. That's not living. That's not creating. We are creators. And yet, we're so far from that. Nowadays, we're always competing against men. We're always comparing ourselves to men, always seeing where we can beat them, where we can be better than them, all in the name of the suffering and pain they have caused us. But let's break that down, because this pain and suffering that has been created was actually created by a program, by a belief that was given to us and programmed into us to hold as truth. Because here's the secret: a harmonious relationship between men and women is unbreakable. They can't break it. So I did what was best, and I used the tools that I knew could help me get through these programs and see the world for what it is, not for what I've been made to believe. And I had to be self-honest. If I really wanted to have a healthy, and I mean a healthy relationship with my husband, with my daughter, I had to transcend these points. Because all I was doing at this point, when I looked at everything in front of me just kind of laid out, was that I was teaching my daughter the sins of the father, right? So like I was teaching my daughter to do and grow up to be like me, to think the same. And here's the thing, most of us walk around looking like really good people, right? Like we are good citizens, we are good women, you see us, we're good mothers. But here, the way that we feel constantly, our children pick that up. Our children can really understand what's happening in our mind. And all they're doing is just copying and making copies and copies and copies. And all we're producing is copies of ourselves, of our mind within our children. I had to take responsibility for my own programming. Blaming others was not going to fix the problem. Placing my faith in something external was not going to fix the problem. The root had to be fixed by me taking full responsibility for what has been programmed within me. The truth of life is that we need men and women. The world we live in is a result of what collectively is in our minds, our thoughts. They're just projecting in our outer world. And we're living it every day, over and over again. And when I talk about I had to transcend these points, these beliefs, I couldn't justify any of these beliefs. I couldn't make excuses. Because believe me, it is so easy. It is so easy to go into the victim mode. It is so easy to say, well, we have been hurt as women and, we have been done and all that. And there's so much support out there telling us that we should hate men and we should hate ourselves as women, right? Because they're just abused individuals. We're constantly being belittled. But all of this are thoughts that are running over and over and over again. Every decision we make, every option we take, every path we take are all weighed in by these beliefs that we carry every single day. And they're so subtle, they're just there creeping in without you even knowing. And so after walking these points, my memories came back. I began to remember decisions that I've made in the past, made out of fear of losing control because I was a woman. I even remember points where I felt that I wasn't good enough because I wasn't like men. Being in a room full of men and just feeling like I was smaller, just kind of feeling invisible at one point because within myself, the beliefs were so embedded that they didn't even have to do anything. I was just cooperating on my own, that I belittled myself. I kind of hid around men, not spoke around men. And these were not things I was aware of at all. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, hey, do you do this? I'd be like, no, I am my own woman. What are you talking about? But when I began to see life and I began to see these things and expose them onto myself, I was like, oh, crap. I remember that time. I was in that room, in that conference room full of men, and I was sweating profusely, and I was so scared, and I thought about so many things I wanted to say, and I couldn't say them, because that's how it all works out, right? Like, it's those moments, and then they fade away, and then that's it. You don't think about them ever again. And then it hit me. It was something so simple, but yet so profound. I don't have to be like a man. My power is being a woman. It's being the wife that my husband needs. It's being the mother that my daughter needs. And also, after, and this is going to come way after in the videos, also being the daughter, the friend, the family member, and the person that the world needs to really communicate and translate my experience to you guys so that we can all begin to wake up. You see, when a woman is stable, the home is stable, the children are stable, the men become stable, the men begin to thrive. You ask any man who is extremely successful in all areas, and I'm not saying like people who are power hungry men. I'm talking about actually men who are doing what is best. You will see that they have a woman behind them, guiding them and supporting them and being that stable person for them. It is a science that is simple, yet most children have no idea what that feels like, because most children today don't belong to stable homes of a mother and a father. Most children today are part of broken marriages. And if we could just understand that point, that the recipe is simple. It is the beliefs and the programs that make relationships between men and women hard. These beliefs that dictate our every action are the ones that are destroying, and have already destroyed, the essence of a woman. And after really understanding this, really integrating this, I began to thrive in my home. Everything in my life, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my daughter, my relationship with my friends, my family, it all began to change. And I began to understand something as simple as making home-cooked meals is what is best. Why staying home and educating and supporting my child is what is best. Why I must be emotionally stable within myself so that I can support my home. And that's when I understood the power we hold as women. That doesn't mean that I bow to my husband. That's a belief. It doesn't mean that I'm not contributing anything to the home. That's a belief. That doesn't mean that I'm not equal to my husband because I don't bring any money in. That's a belief. It doesn't mean that if I cook and clean, I'm a slave. That's a belief. But what it does mean is that processing information for what it truly is what will bring the essence of a woman back, instead of relying on our feelings and emotions and experiences, because at the end of the day, they're all being led by your programs and your beliefs. We must look at ourselves in self-honesty and look at our program and begin to rewrite it so that mothers can stop raising girls who hate being themselves and who hate men and have no idea who they are and have no idea where to find stability within themselves. I commit myself to walk as a woman. Will you?